Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, October 10th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? Two cards we are starting our day off with today is our Four of Wands in its reversal, in combination with our Seven of Swords in its reversal. A lot of this work that we're just seeing right now, working through, navigating, building forward on plans, a lot of this energetic recall that's happening here. We saw this same energy yesterday, specifically and particularly with that combination that we started of yesterday with our High Priestess in combination with our Judgment card in its reversal. A lot of energetic unpacking of the past that's happening right now. A lot of this readdressing, a lot of this reprioritization, and a lot of this work I'm seeing here. I need to stress this. This is showing, this period of time at this particular moment is showing how far one has come in relationality to where you were, and they're saying about 4 months ago. Specifically and particularly, I'm seeing even now, there's a lot of energy here. Looking back on past experiences with a new set of eyes. That's all I'm getting here. I'm getting this very strongly. And this is having a different impact across the frequency cycles. Now, masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. A lot of this work that we're seeing right now, it feels like path work of correction. But I need to stress that something that we're seeing that's happening here that is so valuable and so important is when we talk about path work of correction, what we're not seeing here is we're not seeing energy that is coming into that space of overly modifying or correcting from the past. I see even now there's a lot of energy deep within divine union that is doing that work in really, I want to say, recognizing and identifying what feels like they are bringing with them forward versus what they feel like they're ready to energetically let go of. Why are we seeing so much of this work right now? Because for a lot of the energy, this unpacking, this I want to say the eclipse cycle that we just went through, that amplification or that expansion point, it was creating that sense of fastidiousness. There's a lot of this energy here I just see is in that space or modality of feeling like they have their hands full, right? And when you have your hands full, what are you hoping to achieve? You hope to find efficiencies. You hope to find easier ways of doing things. And so we see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that feeling of coming through, that process of letting go, it feels transformative. Because in the process of letting go, what is happening? That is the energy that is reassessing. They're looking back upon things. And I almost have like a lot of this energy. This is either happening in the tangible space right now or on the etheric. Almost looking at something that you held with a lot of that like preciousness and almost saying, this doesn't feel as necessary anymore. It doesn't feel as important because that sense or that degree of importance, that is the energy that is learning to look at the past with that point of easement, that sense of energetic acceptance. And so if this is the energy that was holding on to something from a point of frustration, from a point of bitterness, I almost see that a lot of that energy is letting go. It's like this is that letting go process. And it really does feel like a lightening, you know? I just see even now, and even if this is energy deep within divine union, that as energy coming towards them, you know, from that point, like this is the energy deep within divine union that's almost coming to that space of saying no apologies necessary. Because when you come into that space of healing to such an extent, Like that's that moment that like you don't need to hold on to things so much. And I see even now, like the major hurdles that I'm seeing here for the energy deep within divine union is the oppositional factor between not holding on to something and someone who still is, right? Like, and I almost see that some of that energy deep within divine union is almost doing that work to try to help someone let go of something. You know, being like, doesn't that hurt to hold on to it like that? Because that sense or that space of coming into that state of easement, that's allowing one's focus on what feels like it allows for that point of prioritization. And so a lot of the energy deep within divine union is just fastidiously working on that to a certain extent. And I want to say, even being more compassionate and more gentle with themselves in the process of self-correction. Now, for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is not feeling so much as a letting go process, so much as it is an understanding. The energy coming into divine union right now, this isn't the energy that's in the process of letting go of something. This is the energy coming into divine union that is now understanding why something might not have worked the way that they desired or aspired in the past. And I see even now, like a lot of that energy, because we talked about this, the energy coming into divine union right now, it's hard, it's difficult, it's requiring that work. It's requiring that work on the self. It's requiring that work on the connection. It's that observational point that the energy is dictating to one another and saying, even though it's not perfect, we're going to make it perfect because we're willing to put that work in together. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating and going forward in that way, that sense of moving forward with energy that is mutually invested on pathwork of correction, that's willing to do the work with you. Well, it's in the moment that you feel like you're in alignment with an energy that is willing to do the work with you, then suddenly everything that was not in alignment in the past comes into much better clarity. So we see even now that is either a process of energy seeing what they're doing now that is different from what they did in the past. And that's the gift of the past, because when the past allows us to learn from it, it becomes that valuable space of working in service for the present. So for a lot of that energy, potentially coming into divine union and now looking at something from the past as an energetic lesson, this is amplifying that direction of not necessarily, and even here, I feel like there's a lot of closure that's coming through, because that's a lot of energy looking back and feeling that reaffirmation of saying, I'm not going back that way. Right? Because it's in the moment that you understand why something did not occur, that can create its own metric of closure. And for a lot of this energy in separation right now, the energy in separation, I'm just recognizing and identifying it here. This is a lot of that energy in separation that is effectively, I want to say, like I said, articulating upon the energetic reasons as to why they had to leave the situations and circumstances as they did. Because I see even now, and this is saying to me that this is happening for both masculine and feminine, that ability to articulate to someone, the ability to move away from a circumstance or situation, not being your first instinct, but being your last, that desire or that ability of trying to facilitate partnership, like that sense of saying, like, I see that's the energy coming into a space of exhaustion, because that's more of that affirmation that we spoke about the feminine saying to masculine, I can be profoundly energetically patient, but not if we're not sharing the same priorities, because that's the difference of being patient with someone that's learning versus someone who you're waiting for them to prioritize. That's a feminine saying, I just wasn't willing to wait for someone to prioritize coming into partnership. That's a different kind of patience. While for masculine, this is the masculine energy saying, I recognize and identify that if the feminine energy is too energetically volatile, right? If the feminine energy can't come into that pathwork of being balanced, can't be in that space of being able to recognize and identify and keep the manifestation goal, right? Like coming into that, that's a masculine saying it felt like nothing I could do was ever enough. It felt like if I did what they, I felt like I moved less. If they told me to move right, they told me to go right. They told me to go left. Like that's that energy that we see even now. Like these are energies coming into partnership or new energetic connections that are happening, not under the best ideal circumstances, but also recognizing the energy through conversation that understands what work means. And by understanding what work means, meaning that something valuable is something that you work on. And that sense of care is being amplified here. Center card in today's spread is, woo, look who's back out. We got here our Queen of Swords and it's upright. And I love seeing this card today. For masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, I think that something that's really beautiful that we're seeing here is for a lot of the feminine in separation. I see that there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of confidence in relationality to one's own energetic choices at this time. Specifically in particular, because again, and I have to stress this, if feminine, and I see two different modalities of feminine and separation right now. I see feminine energy in separation that's looking back on the past and feeling a validation point of not going in spaces and places. They're saying that the overarching theme is recognizing and identifying the appreciation of patience, right? And for a lot of the feminine energy right now, I either see them saying to new energetic connections, yes, I'm profoundly patient, but I'm only patient in the realm of working with an energetic connection that prioritizes what I'm being patient for, like the connection itself, versus the energy saying of the feminine saying, I'm not going to be patient waiting for someone to decide if they want to prioritize partnership. And so I see even now, if these are situations where feminine is going through a conflict point with a past counterpart, a masculine saying you're being impatient, feminine is saying to masculine in that space, no, there is a difference between the patience of wanting to work together on something versus the patience in you deciding what you want to energetically prioritize. Like that's the feminine saying, let's be clear. And masculine in separation getting it. I see a lot of the masculine energy in separation saying, no, I completely understand. Because what do we see with a lot of the masculine energy right now that's healing and in separation? If these are modalities where the masculine saying to feminine, no, it sounds like you were being very energetically consistent with someone who wasn't being consistent with you. And this is masculine potentially saying in separation, I was potentially going through an experience with a feminine that articulated a desire for something, but not showing that ability to be patient as I learned, right? This is the masculine saying, as I learned, as I was trying to learn, that was the feminine, that it felt like every time I learned something, the feminine said that was the wrong thing, or like that modality of continual over perfection that can make someone doubt themselves or their own confidence. Like a lot of the masculine energy potentially in separation saying it felt too much, like I didn't know what the energetic objective was. So you see even now that there's these new energetic connections that are happening right now, and they're looking towards one another and being like, like there's a lot of that feeling here. And so I see even now for some of the masculine energy potentially navigating those circumstances or situations, potentially with conflict points, if this is the feminine like affirming and saying like, I'll try to be more like specific. This is almost the masculine saying, I don't want to make you feel like you're forcing yourself to embody a modality that you're not, right? I can see even now like that's the healed masculine saying, I want to make sure that we want the same things, because I don't want you to say that you want one thing and then recalibrate. And then that thing that we are moving towards is a different thing. Like there's a bit of this energy here that we see that is allowing for these new energetic connections that are coming through, but it's also requiring some unpacking, right? While masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that is feeling the strength and stabilization of the partnership setting in. And for feminine, I see even now, if this is feminine coming into divine union, that's further amplification and that's further affirmation in relationality to that process. Because if this is the feminine energy, and this is the energy, like I want to say, like building that sense of appreciation for themselves as they go, specifically and particularly, because I see even now, if this is feminine energy that's doing that work, this is the feminine energy that has been building into that space of being energetically strong. But I like this because this is not feminine energy coming into divine union, feeling that sense of having to be strong. This is the feminine energy that feels that sense of being strong. This is the feminine energy that feels that affirmation of being strong, because something that they're receiving from the masculine at this time is reaffirming a space or place that someone told them they were weak, right? This is pathwork of self-correction for feminine coming into divine union. Because again, it's very frequent what happens when energy is projecting onto us. When energy is projecting onto us, they'll sometimes try to identify their weaknesses as our own. So this could be a lot of that feminine energy being reaffirmed in the fact that they're good at something that in the past they were told they weren't good at, because that was energy of unhealed masculine that was projecting their own insecurities onto the feminine. While for masculine right now, this is potentially a lot of the masculine energy coming into divine union. And now a lot of this masculine energy coming into divine union, I see even now, this is the masculine energy coming into that space of recognizing and identifying what they're learning, but also feeling the valuation point of building with the feminine that is strong enough to be a safe space from which they feel both the confidence to learn, but also the process, the confidence to feel vulnerable in that process without feeling insecure. Now, for the energy, the energy deep within divine union right now, I feel like even now, this is not energy concentrating on partnership in any way, shape, or form. This is a lot of the energy deep within divine union that's just, I want to say like work. And there's like a lot of this energy here, like forward, no time to look backwards. Like that's really just kind of the energy here right now. Next two cards in our 5-card spread before we continue to get clarification. We have here our 3 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Fool card in its upright. Now, masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union right now. There's just a lot of this energy I'm seeing right now deep within divine union that is recognizing and working like again, just working fastidiously and doing, I keep seeing the energy saying they're doing the best that they can. And the problem that's happening for a lot of that energy deep within divine union is often that feeling, because there's so much, there's that feeling that the best that you can always feels like you're missing your mark, right? It always feels like you're leaving something on the table. And to which I'm going to say right now, for the energy in divine union feeling like that, that's not a terrible problem to have. You got to be kinder to yourself. You have to be kinder to yourself in that context. Because if there's that modality where you feel that there's so much that you want to do, that there isn't enough time to get everything done, do you recognize that you're working in the space or place because it matters so much and because what you're doing is so valuable and so important? So let that serve as affirmation that if you're moving through those contexts and you're feeling disappointed in yourself in the process, you shouldn't feel disappointed. You need to give yourself a bit of grace. You need to give yourself a point of easement. You need to give yourself a bit of pacing. Well, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, I'm just seeing that a lot of this work that we're seeing that's happening right now, this is energy coming into divine union and not looking back. I mean, I need to stress this. Okay, I need to put it this way. They're looking back but in a way that feels, I'll put it this way, in a way that validates and reaffirms their energetic direction to a certain extent. Because we've got here, and I just want to show you this, we've got here for feminine, we've got the representation of our Queen of Swords. For masculine, we've got the representation of the Fool. Now, these cards are in complete alignment with what we saw yesterday, because you remember what was happening for a lot of the energy of the masculine coming into divine union right now. This is a lot of the masculine energy saying to the feminine, I'm prioritizing this, but you have to be patient with me because I don't know what I'm doing. Right? I'm prioritizing this, but you have to be patient with me because I don't know what I'm doing. And what is the feminine saying to masculine? The same thing that the feminine was saying yesterday to masculine. As long as you are prioritizing the energetic connection, I can be as patient as necessary. So you see, and in the process of doing that, that's the feminine reclaiming their own feeling of patience in the definition of the masculine that is not asking the feminine to be patient. This isn't the masculine going, I'm going for a walk, and when I decide I want to be in divine union, I'll come back. You just wait for me here. This is not the masculine energy that's leaving feminine sitting on a park bench somewhere. As they go do this. This is the masculine's energy saying, I need you to be patient because I'm learning how to walk. I'm learning how to do this. I'm gonna look silly. I'm gonna stumble. I'm gonna be really clumsy. And what's the feminine saying to masculine in that modality? I can help you with that. You're not gonna stumble because I'm gonna catch you. You're not gonna fall because I'm here to support you every step of the way. So do you see even now that these are the energies moving forward in that way? That is the bind, that is the bind that does not break, because these are the energies that are saying to one another, I'm here to make sure you get there, right? While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is the energy clarifying where they're finding one another. This is the energy clarifying where they're finding one another right now. Because I just see even now, a lot of new potential energetic connections are coming up. I want to get there's a lot of, I told you guys there was going to be a little bit of this some pleasant surprise energy here. Because I see even now, there's new energetic connections that are occurring. And a lot of this energy, articulating about the past. I see feminine saying to masculine, yeah, masculine was asking me to be patient. But I told them, and then they got mad at me because I said I was impatient. And this is the feminine saying to masculine in separation, I've got profound patience so long as we're prioritizing the same things. And this is masculine saying to feminine, I need an energy that is patient and recognizes that if I'm prioritizing, I might stumble in that context. I might not necessarily be I might try to do the best I can. And if the energy of the feminine, right, I told you, be a little conscientious of trying to be too fastidious, letting perfection stand in the way of intention. For a lot of this energy right now, this is the masculine saying, I need an energetic connection that recognizes that as I'm learning as I go. So these are the healed energies coming into new energetic connections. And at the same time, clarifying the difference between the intentional clumsiness, right? Someone who's intentionally fumbling, right? Or someone who is impatient, but remembering and reaffirming to someone in the past and saying, and this is the energy saying, again, that these are different things. They look very similar, but they're very different, right? Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Wands in its reversal and our Seven of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify. Two cards coming out to clarify. It's going to be one of those days. We've got here our Sun card in its reversal and our Knight of Cups. What are these energies saying to one another in separation? I see a bunch of energy in separation, making new energetic connections. And what are they saying? They're saying, yeah, everything was great until it wasn't. Everything was wonderful until it was not. It was beautiful, but it was fragile. It was beautiful, but it was fragile. It could not take the energetic weight of when something got difficult, right? And I see even now those energies are coming towards one another, like with a sense of grief, right? Because something can be beautiful, but it can be very fragile. And often when we have these relationships that we build where we are so profoundly hurt by them, and we say, I don't understand, everything was going just swimmingly, and then that one thing happened and suddenly everything fell apart. This is the energy that's remembering it's easy to fall in love, but to be able to have that sense of endurance, that rigor that is required to remember that a good energetic connection isn't made by the bright spots. It's made by being able to do the hard stuff together. These are the energies right now that are finding each other, and they understand that, right? Because this is the masculine saying to feminine. This is the masculine separation saying to new like energetic connections of feminine. I want to have happiness with someone, but I don't want to be the sole source of someone's happiness, right? Like that's the masculine saying, if I'm in a context wherein the happiness of the counterpart requires me to constantly be in service to their energetic happiness. This is a lot of masculine saying to feminine. It felt like it was an impossibility point, because this is the masculine saying, I can't. It's not possible, right? Like this is the masculine saying it felt like it was impossible because someone was looking towards me just as a point of serving their energetic needs, right? And wasn't there when I needed that. And so for a lot of the feminine energy in separation, this is feminine saying to masculine. This is masculine that was creating these spaces of saying, wait for me, I'll one day I will return to you ready to enter into partnership. And this is the feminine saying, that could be never. That could be never, right? This is the feminine saying there's no time to wait. Either the desire to move forward in energetic connection is there or it's not. And so we see even now, these are the conversations that the new energetic connections are having, and potentially in the process navigating away from circumstances wherein they're not seeing that viability point because these are too much of separation moments. And if these are energies right now that are going through an argumentation point, if feminine's having someone telling them that they're being impatient, and masculine is telling someone that they're not bringing them energetic joy, this is the difference. This is the nuance between the difference of the masculine saying, I can bring joy, but I cannot be the soul. The partnership should not require the sense of having to navigate and create, just be a joy, like a joy machine, right? And this is the feminine saying to masculine, no, impatience, I'm patient, but only towards energy that is sharing the same priority, right? Continuing to have clarification between these cards. And for the energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that is having those breakthrough points by recognizing that that is what they're finding in the counterpart. But that was what was potentially missing in the past connections, right? There's a lot of that assessment that's happening there. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, this is just continuing to navigate forward in such a way that you're building upon those points of prioritization. You're building fastidiously here. And this is, the only thing that I'm seeing here that's a little bit frustrating for the energy deep within divine union right now is working through the energetic hurdles. It's not easy right now to maintain balance, but we see even now there's a lot of that energy deep within divine union that is doing their best to do so, because that is the energy that recognizes that on some days it's harder to do that than others. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Eight of Swords in its upright and our Queen of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords in its reversal. Now, Masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union. A lot of this work that we see even now, navigating those energetic hurdles of confidence, working on the confidence on the self, working on that sense of courage. And we see even now that these are the energies that are continually doubting themselves in those processes. But what are they doing in that space or in that vector of downing themselves? They're acting as clear mirrors for one another. They're encouraging one another. They're supporting each other as they go. But they're also utilizing one another to articulate those doubts and those uncertainties and those fears, because via doing so, they're able to reaffirm what feels like it is the sound fear versus what is something that is doubting oneself in the process. So even that energetic encouragement here, we see that this is the energy that says to one another, you don't have to be perfect. None of us have to be perfect. But our own ability to identify and see those limitations and continue to try to work into that space of perfection, this is that energy that is continually learning as they go. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this I'm seeing even now, this is, I actually get here, I get here a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now. Really just being in that space of, I want to say, unpacking the past in a big way. And it is having a different impact on masculine and feminine, because again, for masculine, there's a lot of this work that I'm seeing about some of that inability to be vulnerable from the past, having to do, like I said, with that sense or that space of working through places of healing where it felt like masculine, nothing they could do was ever energetically right, And I see even now, like for some of the energy of the masculine, almost like abandoning themselves in the process of that journey, coming towards a feminine that is supporting them and recognizing and saying to them, your job is not to be perfect. It's not required of you. Like even that feels like an easement point, because that's the energy of the masculine that feels like that feminine, and I need to stress this, that accepts them, but accepts them because they see the fact that they are trying, right? Like that is the energy that feels that supportive arms of the feminine that says, I see how hard you work for yourself. And if others don't see it, recognize that I do. And even in that modality, this gives the masculine energy the energetic confidence to continue forward on their journey. While for feminine, that modality and that experience, having those moments of masculine, potentially building forth the feminine now, and feminine saying to masculine, there are those in the past that said I wasn't patient enough. And this is the masculine saying, you're the most patient person I've ever met. Like this is the masculine saying you're literally being patient with me as I learn. And so this is the feminine healing from that space of, again, that point or that prioritization of patience that comes with someone that you recognize is doing the work with you, as opposed to the energy that says you're not patient enough because they require you to do all of their work for them. And for a lot of the energy right now in separation, that's a lot of those same conversations that are occurring. Continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Swords in its upright in combination with our Three of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Empress. So I gotta say, beautiful cards for feminine right now, and not too bad for masculine too. We're gonna bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, in separation, the one thing I'm getting like a little bit of this like help is on the way kind of energy for feminine in separation, because I just keep seeing that there's a lot of feminine in separation right now that is energetically unpacking, right? They're unpacking something. They're walking something through. They're taking those steps. And for feminine energy in separation right now, that ability to unpack something and to be validated within it. Like, this is a lot of that energy of the feminine looking towards other feminine. And not only, I need to stress this is not only feminine making new connections with masculine energy that recognizes and understands the hurdles that the feminine was experiencing in the past. This is feminine working with other feminine energy that also is reaffirming them in that way. Do you see this? Like, this is that point of appreciation. And this is a lot of the feminine energy, I need to say, in separation. Feeling the strength and stability of the energetic connections that maintain the feminine energy's own standards, right? And so I see even now, like, there's a lot of that release and relief that's occurring in those experiences. For masculine, I see that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this could be a lot of the masculine energy that's coming towards, feminine at this time. And the thing about the masculine energy I need to stress right now is this is some masculine energy that may be specifically speaking towards feminine in this way. I can almost see some masculine saying, yeah, it's a little hard to be able to express this to masculine energy at this time. Because, as we mentioned, for a lot of that masculine energy, becoming in touch with one's own emotional center can sometimes feel like it's a bit isolating, right? Especially if you feel like you're doing that work and those around you haven't kind of reached that same potentiality point. I can feel like a lot of that energy, the masculine saying, it's a little bit hard to talk to some other masculine energy about my emotions because they're not as comfortable in doing so, right? And so we see even here that so much of this work that we're identifying is that sense or that space of unpacking to such a degree that it's allowing, this is where that context of new communication is coming through. Now, continuing to get clarification on this, for the energy coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're identifying, I'm just seeing even now, it feels like a point of reassurance. And I have to stress, I see even now, a few days ago, this was some energy coming into divine union that was potentially feeling or having some anxiety about whether they were going to be able to work through something. Because I have to stress here, like, that ability of navigating, navigating a difficulty together. Either this was the energy that felt that anxiety and saying, this is where this person's going to leave me, right? This is my experience in the past where someone showed that they were only there for the nice parts, right? And for a lot of that energy, having that modality of saying that was that emotional vulnerability that often created those spaces or places that you wanted to run. We see even here that expansion point, that ability of starting to build back, that ability of feeling some of that change, that ability of self-correction coming in. We see even now that some of that energy is starting to feel something that they can then heal, right? It's slow, it's nurturing, but it is expansive. And we see even in that space right now, that is that process by which something is flourishing. Now, for the energy deep within divine union right now, a lot of this work that's occurring, I just want to stress this, like, this is the energy deep within divine union that just feels that profound frustration in relationality to, and this is what happens when you're on that pathwork of compassion. When you're on that pathwork of compassion, it feels like nothing you do is ever enough, right? There's always another space that you could be doing so. So we see even now that a lot of that energy articulating and speaking towards how one is trying to do things, what one's trying to do, trying to get more energetically efficient. This is a lot of the energy that feels the frustration in not being where they desire to be, but also remembering that one is never where you aspire to be because you're always learning as you go. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, Three of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Fool card in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Cups in its upright. So, one of the things that we're seeing here is this is feeling restorational. This is feeling supportive. This is feeling positive. This is feeling, and I have to stress this even now. A lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, that point of prioritization, why there isn't even a lot of conversation on partnership, is, as I said, this is the energy that's like working towards that sense of prioritizing the energy around them, more so than the energetic connection between the counterpart, because that's the beauty of, I need to stress this, the beauty of a healthy energetic connection is you don't have to think about it so much. You don't have to think about it so much. I mean, it's there. But it's like, you set it and you don't forget it, but it's not, you have your hands free to do other stuff. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is keeping their focus and priority on, I told you, building that point of balance, maintaining that space of stability, right? While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that is working through how to create better stability in the partnership. And I need to stress this. If you're doing this work right now, congratulations, because the difference, and I see even now, like this is the difference between the energetic connections that form that say everything was perfect until it was not, right? Like that fragile partnership that feels like it could shatter at every moment. This is the energy that's commitment to one another is saying, the relationship doesn't require us to be perfect. But when it's not, we're going to hold on to one another even tighter. We're going to do that work and facilitate that. We're going to do it together. And so we see even now that for so much of that work, this is the energy that's learning. They're learning about themselves in the process of building into a healthy energetic connection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, I even see even now, there's a bunch of energy that's articulating, I want to say, I keep seeing a lot of energy in separation, building new connections with someone and effectively articulating and saying, I stayed until there was nothing else I could energetically do, right? I did everything I could until I recognized that staying was going to cause more hurt than it would cause healing. Because when one is facilitating and one is on that pathwork of healing, you don't just hold on to something no matter what, right? You're very mindful as to whether it feels like it is the best thing to do, because that is the energy that even when they move away from someone, they do so with that profound amount of compassion, right? So we see even now that for so much of that energy facilitating and doing that work, that ability of saying to one another, like even here, I stayed until there was nothing else I could do, until the last thing I could do to try to help heal something was move away from someone, was to get that energetic distance. These are the energies that are recognizing one another specifically and particularly, because I told you, these aren't the energies that say things got difficult so I ran away. These are the energies that said I stuck around until I finally had to crawl away. I stayed until it felt like if I stayed another instant, it was just going to cause more harm than it would create positivity. And so we see even now, like that is the energy that like is navigating that feeling, but also feeling affirmed in that process, because while it's difficult, sometimes doing the right thing is not necessarily always the easy thing. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Cups and its upright, in combination with our Sun card in its reversal, in combination with our Page of Swords in its reversal. May I have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Justice card in its reversal. Oh, and I have to stress here, a lot of this energy and separation, what are they helping each other heal? that feeling of unfairness. You know, I'm telling you even now, like a lot of that energy and separation, you know, when you have to, like when you care about something, when you walk away from something, when you do that work, right? That sense or that space of recognizing and identifying, this is the energy that says to the counterpart, like even in the space of articulating, like that ability to see. This is the energy that recognizes one another in separation, specifically and particularly, because this is the energy that is like building forth a new energetic connection by talking towards the disparity in the balance of the previous connections. So we see even here that for so much of that energy, that discernment, right? That fastidiousness, being able to be self-assessing and recognizing what you could change versus what was outside of your purview to change. This is how the energy is recognizing one another. Because these are those modalities where someone's not just saying like, you know, no, I don't want to talk about that past relationship. No, it was always a mess. Like this is not the energy that is trying to like, you know, like whitewash something that happened in the past. This is the energy that says, no, I've been putting a lot of thought into it. I've been trying to figure out, like, this is the energy that's looking towards one another and they're speaking towards those situations. And this is not the energy saying, no, I'm not trying to work it out because I'm trying to go back. This is the energy saying, I'm trying to discern what's my responsibility to change versus what is my responsibility that I experienced in order to recognize what I can do better or what I can identify sooner, right? This is that refinement process that we see, because this is the energy that is saying like, you know, like that's that sense of again, this isn't just energy looking for what's coming along. This is energy looking for their ideal counterpart connection, right? Continuing to get, and that doesn't, and I have to stress this isn't the energy that looks towards one another and says you have to be perfect. This is the energy that understands, you know, you can't fake that. You can't fake it. You got to find it. And in order to find it, you got to know yourself really well, right? And so for the energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that reaffirms that commitment of saying to one another, we're not energetically perfect. But that sense of recognition, right? That sense of being able to ascertain and assess what you can change versus what else is outside of the self to change. This is the energy coming into divine union right now that is effectively and energetically working on creating that sense of balance. What is the energy coming into divine union right now doing? Working to correct anything that feels like it is energetically imbalanced. And what is the energy deep within divine union doing right now? Not concentrating on the relationship. Working under less than ideal conditions. And what are they doing in the space? But they don't care about the fact that they're in less than ideal conditions, because what are they doing? Their focus and priority is on one thing and one thing only. Maintaining the energetic balance for the energy around them, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Empress card in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. Look who's decided to show up. The card that we'll be having tonight in our class, the Lovers. So, masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union. This is that energy that works fastidiously. And is this the energy right now that's working on one another? Not necessarily. This is the energy that feels the fluidity and beauty of building in an energetic connection wherein you don't need to question, right? You feel that sense of integrity, and that sense of integrity is amplified by recognizing and knowing where each's priority lies, right? And so in that space of prioritization, this is the energy that works foundationally together. and they're not necessarily in that space where they're constantly putting attention towards the energetic connection. This is the energy that the connection itself allows for the freedom, because they're not trying, they don't have to work for it to a certain extent. They just rely upon it. But when they rely upon it, they don't lean on one another. They continue forward to build that sense of energetic balance. And this is what a lot of the energy coming into divine union is learning to do, right? This is the energy that looks towards one another and says to one another, it's not that I'm perfect, but I'm going to continue to work on that sense of perfection, because these are the energies that are coming into connection that are prioritizing the energetic connection. They're prioritizing what they are creating together. And that sense of prioritization creates a space in feminine to have profound patience, and the masculine to feel the freedom of being a little energetically clumsy as they learn, because that is the shelter through which, again, the patience of the feminine comes through, not in waiting for the masculine to prioritize the feminine and their connection, but in the masculine that prioritizes the connection with the feminine and then says, be patient with me as I learn to do so. While for the energy right now, in separation, I'm just seeing even now, this was energy as of a few days ago that wasn't even really prioritizing energetic connection, but here we are. I just see that there's a lot of energy right now in separation, coming into new partnerships, new persons, new individuals. And that sense of, again, potentially even not, and again, not even, I need to say this is what I mean about a little bit of this pleasant surprise here. A lot of this energy not focusing on partnership. And there's partnership when they're least expecting it. Because this is the energy that they're finding one another at a moment when they're concentrating on something very different than what it is that they have there. Like, it's a lot of this energy being like, this is the last thing on my mind right now, but hey, since I found you here, would you like to go have a cup of coffee or something? So we see even now with this Empress energy in its upright and our Six of Cups in its upright. Oh, may I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. We've got double threes right now. This is important to note. We've got more threes because we also got the Empress out, which is also a 3 card. So we have here, I need to stress this, we've got our Three of Cups in its reversal. We've got our Three of Pentacles in its reversal, okay? And we've got our Lover's card here. Now, the thing that we need to stress here, and I see even now, there's a lot of this energy in separation that is, I want to say, almost trying to, I feel like there's a lot of energy in separation saying, I don't want, it feels almost like that. It feels to me like there's some energy in separation, that like they're walking away from a situation, and it's almost like the energy that feels like in the process of walking away from something, like it almost feels like that navigational point of someone saying something to another person in such a way that it feels like it's like, it feels like a wound. It feels like someone saying something and saying, it was in that moment that I knew. Specifically and particularly because, and I need to stress this, like, there's some kind of energy here. And I need to point this out. This is the energy that does not move away from a situation for the sake of expecting another person to change. This is the energy that moves away from a situation where they've given up the hope that someone will. Right? And so we see even now like that moment of like this is more of that affirmation that I'm seeing here with some of this energy, because I see even now like some of that energy moving out of a situation and even telling someone in the process of meeting them, I don't know if I'm energetically ready to, specifically and particularly because, they're still processing or they're still working through, some of that anxiety point, you know. And I see it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy, because look at these energies surrounding the Lovers card right now. We've got the Justice card in its reversal, the Lovers card, and the Three of Pentacles in its reversal. So again, it feels like on the outside the least ideal situation, but sometimes things grow in strange places, is what I'm getting. Sometimes things grow in strange places, specifically and particularly because I'm just identifying that a lot of that energy is reaffirmed in their commitment in going forward to a certain extent, because this is the energy that identifies and recognizes that, as we mentioned, that sense of not wanting to drag someone forward onto a manifestation path that they do not feel that need or desire to move in the directionality of, right? Like, this is more of that energy that I see even now is coming to that closing out of a cycle. And it may even have felt like that, you know, the frustration point upon it may be built upon and based upon how one navigates difficulty, right? And so we see even now, like, the problem with some of those situations is that the energy saying, yeah, everything was perfect until one thing went wrong. Everything was great until, because if that sense of identifying and remembering that you can't, that the ability of saying, oh, it's okay, I can have a relationship with this person, I just have to make sure nothing ever goes wrong, ever. Everything just needs to be perfect no matter what. Like, that's why so much of this energy in separation is effectively ready for those partnerships, because these are the energies that identify and I know what those energetic standards are, right? This isn't the energy that feels flexible or adaptable to it. This is the energy that just recognizes what's within them to change versus what's with what's outside of them that they can't help, right? And so a lot of this energy I see even now, like, feels like they're not ready for partnership, but they're absolutely ready, because they're so conscientious of navigating it with someone that isn't just there for the easy parts, but knows what it takes to make something with longevity. Continuing to, and this is what's happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into divine union. This is the energy coming into divine union that, you know, has that space or that place wherein they feel that point wherein this is the energy that feels like something is imbalanced around them. They're looking at their partnership. They're saying it needs work, but they're saying it together, right? They're saying it in unison. So as long as they're putting that work in, they're moving towards that aspirational ideal. While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, this is the energy deep within divine union, making the best out of difficult circumstances. Because that's what the energy does. Like, that's the energy. That is how you spin straw into gold. You take something that is less than ideal and say, well, we're going to make it work, right? So we see even now, like, a lot of that feeling of working tirelessly in that fashion, it feels foundational. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Justice card in its reversal in combination with our Lovers card in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. It's hard right now. We're just recognizing and identifying that. There's a lot of this work that we're seeing right now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that space or place of working tirelessly right now. There's always that point to keep in mind that, and this was something that we started our reading with, sometimes being able to maintain the balance point feels like it requires everything, right? And so we see a lot of that today. We see a lot of that over the last few days. And I need to stress this again for anyone feeling that. If all you've done today is keeping things moving in a steady way, you have done exceptional. Everything else is extra. Okay, I want you really to look at it like that. I really want you to look at the fact that everything beyond that is extra. Because sometimes just being able to keep things in a point of harmony when it feels like everything around you feels so energetically imbalanced, that is not just enough, that is exceptional. So I really want you to make sure that you're giving yourself credit if you're doing that. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that's saying, I don't know if we're going to get through. We have to really put a lot of work in creating this balance. You're already doing it. You're already doing it. If you're both in that modality of recognizing and feeling those hurdles, feeling those difficulties, but you're both putting that mutual energy in to try to find that point of balance, you're already doing it, because you understand that it takes what it takes to create that balance. And so long as you're mutually working towards that definition, you're already in the process of working through it. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is that, I need to stress this is the energy in separation that feels the frustration point and is healing each other and saying, I tried to do everything I could until I recognized there was something I could not do, right? There was something that was outside of my own purview. And so even in that experience, that energetic equivalent of working fastidiously towards that, and the energy recognizing, even in the ability to articulate upon what they experience, because I see even now a lot of that energy, those new energetic connections, being like, I'm sorry if you don't want to talk about it, and someone being like, no, I'd be happy to, right? Like a lot of that energetic unpacking here. This is the energy that even in the explanation of what that imbalance was, the clarity is discerned, the clarity is recognized, because this is the energy that is meeting one another and seeing an energetic equivalent of someone saying, like, it's a sad story. It's a story of me trying to put in the work and someone not being able to meet the amount of work that I was trying to put forth towards them. But it's reassuring and it's reaffirming in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Lover's card in its upright in combination with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Pentacles in its upright. So that I have to say, even now, there's a lot of this energy right now in separation that is in that modality of support, in that modality of assistance, doing that work and fastidiously working in that fashion. This is the energy that is recognizing in the articulation of what they experienced, the sense of saying, I was giving to something, and it wasn't giving back in the same way, right? This isn't the energy looking towards one another and saying, they weren't giving me enough. This is the energy saying there was nothing I could do, right? There was nothing I could, and this, I have to stress this even now. There's some of this energy in separation saying, I recognize I could continue forward in that way. I could give even more, but that was the energy saying that either would have created too great an imbalance, or it wasn't going to fix it. It's saying to me, it wasn't going to fix a problem. It was just going to make it energetically worse, right? So we see even now, like, a lot of this energy and separation coming into a place of deep catharsis by appreciating and seeing one another and almost saying, like, no, I feel you. I understand where you're coming from. I've been right there. That mutual appreciation and catharsis via the explanation. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, I just see even now, like, a lot of this energy having that anxiety point. Even a few days ago, not being 100%, I can see a lot of that energy coming into divine union and saying, like, I don't know if we're going to be able to fix this. But that's the energy that recognizes that as long as you're energetically committed with partner to fix, all of that work, right, allows for that sense of joy, right? It allows for that sense of harmony, because this is the energy that effectively affirms and says to themselves, no matter what it takes, that's what it takes, because they're prioritizing the partnership, right? And that's not the energy that feels like they're changing for the partnership. That is the energy that feels like they're putting their effort towards the thing that matters to them most. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, a lot of that energy deep within divine union right now, like I just see and recognize that for a lot of that energy, the ability to, I almost see that energy saying to one another in the process of being in divine union, everything else takes energetic work but this. Everything else, everything feels like it's energetic work except this. And for a lot of that energy, that doesn't mean that the partnership itself is perfect, but coming into that space, doing that work, fostering and creating an environment, like that is that moment that you deeply appreciate the partnership that you create with counterpart, because you recognize and identify that you've reached that modality wherein, again, it's reached a point of stabilization wherein you can focus on things outside. And even in that moment that we see that so much of that energy is working tirelessly, they say to one another, I'm not sure about, I'm not sure if any of that work goes to is going to matter, but I know, but it's all worth it because here you are. Card for today's spread between our Ace of Pentacles and its upright in combination with our Six of Pentacles and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Death card in its reversal. So, I feel like a lot of this energy, I told you, a lot of this energy deep within divine union. And I need to stress this, because we need to articulate and speak about the idea of change. Because the Death card here, we often see the Death card, and I like to point this out. The Death card does not mean ending. It means transformation, right? And so there's transformation and there's transformation. There are the things that you fear and the things that you welcome. And so for a lot of that energy of transformation, this is the energy that is able to navigate transformations, because when you hold something in a point of priority, I told you, when you're focusing on a point of balance, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the wind is passing. It doesn't matter which direction anything's going in. If all you're focused on is keeping something energetically stable, then that space or that place of allowing oneself to transform around it in order to facilitate that, that is the energetic equivalent of love. Because that is the energy that says whatever that takes is worth it. Because that is at the heart of love, right? It's like that gift that we give one another. And that doesn't mean that we persist and we navigate anything. It requires that mutual work in facilitating what that prioritization point is. And so for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, having that space or place outside of the self, that is what the effective union provides. It allows that context of feeling that point of stabilization. And we saw even now, a lot of that work that we're seeing for a lot of the energy navigating that is having to say to someone, that space of saying, you make it look easy. And someone saying, how do you make it look easy? And someone saying, it's easy. I just give it everything I have. Right? That's the energy going, oh, you want to know how I do it? How it's so easy? I give it everything I have. I don't leave anything, right? Like that is that space of love. It's the opposite of the easement. It's the easement that requires everything. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, a lot of that work coming into divine union, this is the energy that is finding, I'm getting even now, like finding new reserves, finding parts of themselves that they didn't even know existed. because this is the energy that's learning to prioritize and saying, I'm going to put the work in. This is important. I'm going to put the work in. And that's not the energy that, and you see why you can't do that. And you can't say, okay, fine, I'll do it. Like when you care about something, when you truly care about something, you'll find parts of yourself inside of you that you didn't even know existed. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is coming into that space of recognizing and going places within the self that they've never gone before, because, not because they have to, but because they desire to, because they're with an energetic counterpart that is doing the same. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is a lot of the energy I'm seeing in separation that's almost saying to someone coming into new partnerships, yeah, I would do anything for love, but I wouldn't do that. Like, that's the energy going, I wouldn't do that. But you have to understand that when the sense of saying I wouldn't do that is the articulation of someone saying, I'm not going to move towards love if the love does not move towards me. I'm not going to chase after love. I'm not going to come into that space that I say I desire you under any context, right? Because when we come into that space, that's where we create those places that don't feel like they're loving environments. They feel like they're relationships that are built on lack, right? So we see even now like a lot of that energy moving into that space and coming into a point of acceptance and feeling that modality, like that sadness. And I see it even now. It's going to differ depending on who's in separation, because this is a collective read. Some of that is saying that person did not desire what I desired. No matter how much care I gave that person, I knew ultimately that we wanted different things. And I can see a lot of that energy in separation saying to someone, it breaks my heart to see it, but I can't change it, right? Versus some energy in separation that's saying, someone articulated that they desired something, but they weren't showing an ability to move towards it. That it's not simple to say that one desires something and then to just wait within it. One must move in the direction of it. So I see some energy saying, I know that their authenticity in terms of what it is that they aspire was there, but their own ability of navigating their own self to be able to maintain it is something that still requires work. So we see even now, I see like a lot of new energy in separation, doing a lot of that unpacking in relationality to past experiences, to try to recognize and identify like what those hurdles were. But that recognizing those hurdles is the start of something beautiful. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is our 10 of Pentacles in its upright. There's a little bit, there's this like, like everything's bad. Like there's a little, like there's so much of this energy here. I gotta stress, and this is all this post-it clip, like what just happened? Like it's a lot of that type of energy. Where like something, it feels like something very big occurs, right? And, and it's that space that like, there's not a lot of places to be able to articulate upon it, right? So we see even now that like a lot of that work is such that, building into that context wherein, there's so much of this like energy around something here that, it feels like there needs to be a moment to be able to hold space, right? There feels like there needs to be a moment to be able to recognize and identify like how much that energetically takes. So we see even now that for a lot of that, I see that a lot. This is more of that amplification that I'm speaking about right now, with like a lot of the energy across all the frequencies having their hands full, and the timing being like less than ideal for the new energetic connections that are forming. I see even now, like I just see a lot of energy in separation going, you've caught me at a really weird time. like the energy being like, no, you kidding? While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, so much of this work that we're recognizing here is the energy that is looking at the past in all sorts of new ways. Because once you once you learn new parts of yourself, then suddenly you have to look back on those spaces and places where you didn't have those parts and say, oh, that would have been really useful. But even here, we see that that is the energetic connection that feels that affirmation of working with counterpart that helps you find those spaces within. While for masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that are deep within divine union. You know, this is that energy of someone saying like, oh, it looks so easy. How do you do it? This is the energy saying you just give it, it's the easiest thing in the world. You just give it everything. You know, like it's the energy going, it's the easiest thing in the world. You just give it everything. Because this is the energy that, again, it's not about what it takes. It's about what you create. Right? When you like that is the spirit of love. It's not about what it takes, it's about what you create. And so we see even now like a lot of that energy. Like if someone looks and says like, oh, must be nice, it must be so easy to do something, and the energy being like, you know, I told you, it's that sense of like the things that feel seamless are the ones that require the most work. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, so I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings. First and foremost, I want to let you guys know that our next tarot class is this evening at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Lover's card. I cannot wait to teach this card tonight. If you would like to become a part of that class tonight, you still have a chance to do so. All you need to do is head over to my Substack, gracestrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack will grant you access and entry into our live class this evening. You will also have access to, you probably don't have time to catch up now, but to the full repository of course materials and recordings for our previous classes. So that's about 6 hours worth of material that you will also be getting in your subscription. You will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've studied thus far. And also, if you are a subscriber here on TikTok and would like an additional discount on purchasing that class subscription, simply head over to the Discord channel that you have access to via your TikTok subscription. You will find a special coupon code there. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you so much if you're just joining us there for the first time tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at our class, especially if you have been with us this entire journey. And even if you don't become a subscriber to my TikTok, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post my weekly newsletter there, which will give you full information about my in-person events, as well as my online live schedule. You'll also get notified as to our giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, we are in the process of having our October giveaway. Congratulations to our September winner. It's listed over on our Substack. If you would like to win that particular giveaway, to win a free private tarot reading with me, all you need to do is head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, not only will I be giving away a reading to the person that wins, but I will also be giving away a reading to the person that referred them. So I want to thank you if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Finally, I want to let you guys know as well that on top of my standard life path readings, I now offer mentorship classes. These can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute courses, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. And these can be focused on whatever area of personal growth or spiritual development you are most interested in learning more about. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to be offering weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, 1 per week or bi-weekly, again, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I want to thank you guys as well, and also let you know that we now have applications open for moderators. If you are interested in becoming a moderator on my channel, you do get a special gift pack program. I'm happy to tell you all about it. All you need to do to apply is head over to my Substack and fill out the survey there, or email me directly at gracestrega@gmail.com. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of one another, and we will do this again tomorrow.